Filmmakers, so you have footage, you've put it into WeVideo, you have things collected, you're starting to maybe edit some things together. What this video is going to talk about is editing all these different tracks. And editing is at least half the battle in making a good film. You could have the most amazing footage that you've taken and you filmed it and it was awesome. But if you slack on the editing part, it could make that not a great film. Conversely, you could have footage that's just so-so or not that interesting, but the way that you edit it could make it really engaging and really exciting and really interesting for your audience. So editing is at least half the battle when it comes to creating an effective film and telling an effective story through film. So I'm going to take quite a bit of time in this video really talking about the art of editing in WeVideo, because here's where you can really put your stamp and your imagination to work. So we had all these tracks. So now you should have tracks. You should have maybe put things into tracks. You've maybe synced things up. There's so much more that you can do to make this your creation than just putting things together and putting them in order. It's way more involved than that. And so, of course, we talked about layering your tracks and all your different track layers. But let's start with just your titles. So you probably have some titles, at least the title of your film. The first thing that I see when I see like a student make a film and it's like, ugh, is they didn't change the font. Well, first of all, they, obviously they have, let's say my film is called Raindrops. Beautiful. But they didn't change the font, the color. They didn't do anything to customize it at all. So first of all, so what you need to do is you double click on your track, on your title. And that's really true for any of the things. If you double click on the track, it takes you into an editing environment where you can do a whole lot of more cool things. And so first I would want, obviously, that's where I can say what this title is, Raindrops. But if I left it there, that's kind of lame. Now, first of all, I could make the title bigger. That might be important. And so you click on manual and increase the size. You can, if I just want to jump it up to say like 150, I really want that title to stand out, then boom, there it is. I can move that title around. So if maybe I just want to appear over here, or I want it to appear over here, or I can shrink down this text box and that will increase in the size or decrease as well. So maybe I want it to appear in the upper right-hand corner. That font is also boring, very boring. So I can click on the fonts and I can go find one that really tries to get across, the feel that I want. That one's okay. I could keep looking. There's a whole bunch to choose from. So let's say I land on Merriweather and I pick that one. White, maybe I don't think white stands out. So maybe I'm going to pick a different color. Now, of course, you can do a ton of different stuff. You can make the text box. You can affect the transparency. You can do all different kinds of things here with the background or colors. But you can pick a different color as well. That's not great. So maybe I want it to be blue. Okay. And I stick with that. I could spend all day messing with that. And in fact, then I could even click here. And, you can turn the text upside down if for some reason. You can do a mirror image of it. You can do all different kinds of things to customize your text. There's the scale as well. And so that's a few things you can do for the titles. And then if I hit save changes, now my title will appear like this. And when I play my video, there it is. Okay, so there's Raindrops. All right. So that's your text. You could also do background. So if you don't want this to be the background, there is a background button up here. You could go up to here, and behind your title, you could put a different one. Probably a sun doesn't work really well with raindrops, but whatever, you could do that. And you could put a background. So there's lots of different backgrounds. You can even customize the backgrounds, but I'll go into that more about like editing video tracks in just a second. So I'm going to take that background out though. I don't like it. Oh, this is also a good time to introduce the magic undo button. There's your undo button. Anything you did that you didn't like, you can always undo that or redo it and it will pop back up there. Now video. Just whatever your camera happened to take, whatever your camera setting was on, or whatever the lighting was like, and then that's just how it was recorded. And You're not just stuck with that. You can change things. So with video tracks, there's a ton of things you can do to improve your video tracks. Again, double click on the track to edit it, and it takes you here. Now, first, again, I could make the videos the videos bigger, or smaller. Now you're gonna have that black background, which might be kind of weird, but you can make, or if you want to zoom in on something, like, oh, maybe I want the raindrops to really be zoomed in on, I could do that. I'm not beholden to just have it fill the frame, however the original filmmaker took it. But you can also hit like auto fit and things like that. You can flip it just like we did before. If you want it to be a mirror image and background, like that might be kind of cool. If you had, upside down or something like that, and it shows something cool, then you could certainly do that as well. How do I'm going to cancel out of that and go back really fast. Okay. Now you can crop it. So, there's ways to crop it left and right. That one's okay. But what this one is cool is that you can also have it like zoom in over the course of while it's in the frame. So maybe I want it to zoom in on something. Well, then I could go, here's the start. And so when you're at start, that's how it's going to appear when it first comes on the screen at the beginning. But where do I want it to be at the end? Well, maybe at the end, I want it to zoom in. So I'm going to click on the scale and I'm going to zoom things in. And I want it to zoom in on this raindrop right here for some reason. I don't know. I just think that's cool. And I want to zoom in on something. Now, if I did that, it will zoom in over time. And so over the course of the video. And so then it does a slow zoom in on that raindrop over the course of the video. So you could do that as well if you want to do kind of a slow zoom in. Another thing I can do is I can do color keying. Now that's really more if you have green screen. But if you do use a green screen or you have a background, this is the part where you can do color keying and sort of edit it out and put a different background. If that's something you're interested in doing, maybe come talk to me or one of the other teachers about that. I'm not going to go into that in too much in this detail in this part, but this is where you would need to use this if you're doing some kind of a green screen video. Now, here's also where you can do a lot of the art of filmmaking, and you can change, things like the brightness. Spend time like figuring out, like, oh, maybe I just want this to appear a little bit darker than this. Contrast. Even if you don't know what these sliders mean, you might just play with them and see, like, how does it do something? Does it change something? It just makes it look cooler. If you ever like, oh, I moved this all the way and I want to get it back, you just hit that like undo button on the side and it just takes it back to the middle the way it was. But, seeing like, oh, hue, oh, it changes kind of like the color. It just changes the whole mood of it a little bit, temperature. And by just playing with these back and forth, you can really see like, oh, it really changes the effect on the screen. And it maybe does something cool. And then maybe you're like, no, I don't like that at all. I just want it to go back to the way that it was. And you can do that and go back. But that really allows you to get the mood across in a video clip by playing with those different settings. And then you have this here, you have the speed. So this is where you can also do slow motion or fast motion. So you can click on this and really slow that down so that, and it'll take up more time on the screen, but you can do a slow motion shot by making things faster or slower as well. And really play with that as well. And then the range, that's just how long it's going to be on the screen. But you can also edit that in the video itself. But so you can see like, oh, look, what is this going to look like when it's super fast? Oh, now it's real. Oh, it's zooming in. I don't want that. Oh, I want to slow it down a little bit. Okay. Oh, maybe that's what I want. So, and there's smooth in out 1 second. Some of these things I'm not sure what they do because I've never used them before. But there's just a lot of different options that you can use when you are editing your video clips. Same is true for audio. So audio, oh, by the way, one other thing. On the video clips, you can do effects. And there's some quick things that you can do to apply some effects. You can change, inverting colors. You can sharpen and you can combine different things to do. So I don't know what that's going to look like. Let me just see what that effect looks like when I go on there. Oh, I don't even know I'm not even sure what that did. But that's where, again, you can do black and white. So if I do that and I just change the Now it's black and white, and I can do that really quickly without having to play with, the sliders and all those different things. So that effects button is really useful as well. You can also do fade in and out. So there's kind of this green bar up top here, and that's just how bright things appear on the screen. So if I click here and then drag this down, that will mean it's going to start out dark and then it's going to fade in. And then at the end, I could do the same thing and fade out. So it's going to be bright and then it's going to get darker. So the way that would look is I would do, now when it doesn't come on the screen right away, it just fades in. I'm like, oh, I want to fade in longer. Well, then I could drag that over. And now it's going to do a little more of like a slow fade in over time. Oh, now it's coming in slowly and then bright. And then when it gets to the end, it's going to fade out and do kind of that cool fade out motion. There we go. So that the opacity is what they call that, works as well. And then again, if you want to that's just the editing stuff that I just showed you, but there's like an extra button that gets you there faster to open the clip editor. Same thing with sound. So sound, you don't necessarily just want to plop a song or a sound effect in there. If you double click on now it doesn't take you into like an editing environment. There's not as much you can do with audio tracks, but there are these settings so you can show the levels, which is that same thing. Like I can fade it in, and maybe I just want the song to be quieter. I can lower the volume here, so I can click on audio. I can lower that volume down just so it's maybe not quite so loud. I can fade the track in and out like this. So now when the song comes on, it's a little more, it doesn't come right in, it comes in a little bit slower when I do that. Just again, maybe more of a gentle intro than what I had before. And so I can fade things in and out from there. I can do, it can do some auto fades here as well, but I can change that as well. Change the volume on this also, just because maybe the music's too loud and I can't hear what somebody's saying, and so I have to lower the volume on that. So that's another option. Same thing with sound effects. You can edit the sound effects to be louder, quieter, fade in, fade out, things like that as well. So that's really where a huge part. Oh, and then of course, we don't want things to maybe be on the screen the whole time. So maybe I want this sound effect to cut out. Well, there's a couple things here that I can do. There's one thing called markers. You can put a marker on the screen to show like when something comes up. I haven't used that very much, but some people use those. But these scissors, these are important because you're of course going to want to cut things. You don't want them to be on the screen for longer. You don't want the sound to last as long. So let's say I wanted to cut this raindrop scene a little bit closer. If I click on this and click on the scissors, it'll cut that right there wherever the marker was. And if I want to be more fine-tuned about it, I might zoom in to be like, oh, I want it to cut right exactly in a certain spot. But you can cut that. And then you can delete the other parts. You click on the trash can, or you can just click on the link, click on it and hit delete, and then it gets rid of that. And then maybe I want to fade this part out. So I could change that and then make it fade out from here. Same thing with audio tracks. So I can cut those and make those go off at a certain time as well. So cutting things, and then of course moving them around, exactly the right spot, kind of like what we talked about in the last video. So the editing is really a huge part, and I would guess that the editing of your video is going to take probably at least as long as the filming of it did, maybe longer, putting all of that together. So spend a lot of time trying to use the art of filmmaking to put your stamp on your video and to customize your scenes and customize your audio and your video to make it to evoke even more of kind of the emotional response that you're trying to get from your audience. Good luck.